train my dogs a lot using food as a lure right at their noses, but one of the most important points about this one is actually how to fade the treat lure. You want to do this as quickly as possible while still going at your dog's pace. Some behaviors require a lure for much longer than other behaviors. The behavior that I'm going to show you today is actually with Fen, who's chilling out over here with his play bow. This is a more what I would call expensive behavior, so it takes actually physically a lot more energy for him to do it. He's going to need a treat lure for a lot longer for that type of behavior rather than something a little bit easier like a sit or a down. So keep that in mind. If it's a harder, physically harder, or just mentally harder behavior, your dog might need that actual food lure at their nose the entire time for a longer period of time. But go at your dog's pace. As fast as you can fade it out is going to be ideal so that our dogs don't become dependent on food right at their nose the entire time to be able to follow through with behaviors. So I'm going to show you with Fen here with his little play bow trick that we're working right now on kind of perfecting and fading the lure with. So I'm taking a treat, targeting his nose, and just guiding him down into that position. And right now he's still working on it. Good boy, nice job. Working on the treat, I mean, whenever he goes down into that. So I want to start, good boy. I want to start to slowly fade that and turn it more into kind of a hand signal in a way. So I'm kind of wrapping an entire fist around that treat that's in my hand so he can't actually see it, guiding him into position, and I'm doing the first few repetitions of this. As a good boy, nice job. I'm doing the first few repetitions of this with the food still in my hand so that my dog is very used to that and he's going down into a good boy really nicely. Nice job. Just to kind of remind him exactly what trick we're going for and how he's been used to doing it. Now, when I want to start to fade the treat lure out of my hand, I am still going to have the treats on me. I still have the food in my treat bag. I'm even going to wrap my treat bag around to the front right here, just so the food is still pretty much in front of him. And what I want to do, I'm kind of holding my hand like this with the treat in it. So what I can do is reach in my treat bag, feed him one more treat, make sure that my hand smells nice and tasty. And I want to pretend like I'm holding a treat. So I'm going to take my hand like this, guide him, good boy, guide him into position, and then make it pretty obvious that the treats are actually coming from in my treat bag instead of the hand. Good job, buddy. Well done. That's right in front of him. Fen is also learning some duration with this behavior as well, so he's holding it. And again, I've got no food. Guide him into position. Nice, buddy. I'll take it. He went all the way into the down for that one, but that's okay. He still followed my treat, non-lured treat hand in front of him, which is exactly what I'm kind of looking for. Good boy with this one. Good job. Whenever I'm trying to fade a lure. As a Happy Howie's official training partner, I really prefer to use their soft meat roll treats whenever I'm working on fading a lure with my dogs for this exact reason. They really like these treats. Choosing what treat you use for this is really important. You definitely want a treat that is going to have a stronger scent to it so that whenever you don't actually have food in your hand still actually smells like the treat. So when you're pretending to hold that treat, your dog is a lot less likely to know whether you have that treat or you actually don't in that hand. Since you can also customize the size of these meat rolls, they just come in this big roll and you can cut them into whatever you want them to be. For this in particular, I really prefer to cut them into tiny, tiny little bite-sized, this is about the size of a pea, treat size. So whenever I'm actually holding this, you can't see it, right? And my dogs can't see it, which makes a huge difference. If your dog can see the treat in your hand versus not see the treat in your hand, that becomes a huge factor when we're then trying to fade the treat away. And the 3 flavors one more time, you get turkey with this, also beef and lamb. Lamb tends to be my dog's favorites whenever it comes to fading a lure. This is the stinkiest of the treats in my own dog's opinion. Your dogs may have differing opinions, so try out all the flavors and see which ones your dog likes best and which works for this the best as well. I will leave a link in the description of this video so you can pick up these meat rolls and give them a try. And we're gonna go do some more because this is exciting, huh? Good job. Now, what I'm also gonna do is add this back in just really randomly. I have the treats small enough so that he can't entirely tell whenever I do have a treat or I don't have a treat in my hand, but I want to kind of throw him off to a degree and let him know that some of the time I don't have food in my hand, good boy, but it's going to appear very quickly after that. I want to make sure that the times that I don't have food in this hand, I'm guiding him into it, good boy, and then I'm very quickly rewarding, and he's holding this position beautifully. Come on, buddy. And I'm very quickly rewarding within like 5 seconds after the fact. And I'm adding some praise in there for him as well to make sure, good boy, to make sure that he understands he's doing a really good job with it. So again, no treat in the hand. Good boy, well done. Treats are obviously coming from my treat bag. Good job, buddy, well done. Okay, so some of the time when you're doing this, have the treats in your hand still, and then some of the time, fade and don't have the treat right in your hand. So now he's starting to understand it doesn't actually really matter if Sarah has the food in her hand or not. He's still gonna get rewarded for the behavior that I'm asking of him. That's a real good boy. You wanna do that again? Nice, awesome, buddy, good boy. So right here, he got confused. Okay, that was actually too subtle of a hand signal, so I want to be a bit more dramatic with it. Try again, and here, he's suspicious. He's like, I don't know, so you don't seem to have food in your hand. I'm going to guide him back to me. Good boy. I'm going to try to reset. Okay, I might toss a little treat away. But what I kind of want to avoid doing is if he doesn't follow it, is going to grab a treat and putting that right in my hand. So I'm going to try again. Good boy. I'm going to click just that because he did follow my hand down. Very nice. Even though he didn't go all the way into the position, he did still follow it. Good boy. Well done. But I want to kind of avoid if he doesn't follow, good boy. If he doesn't follow that down, I want to avoid being like, oh, let me help you out and go grab a treat. At that point, it kind of turns more into a bribery situation. So if he struggles with it, good boy. I want to reset. You can toss food away. Kind of get your dog's brain off of that for a moment. Guide them back using a treat lure hand, and then no food again. Try to reset. Good job, buddy. Well done. And again, he went into the full down with this one, and that's okay on that repetition. This one is actually a little bit taxing on his core muscles, so I imagine that he might be also getting a little bit tired of this one. Let's try one more time. And he's going to try to offer his paw. Oh, are you done? Oh my goodness. Okay, so here he's done. Okay, he doesn't want to do it anymore. That's okay. I'm going to try to get a little lure. Good. I didn't actually have food in my hand. I'm just going to try to make that behavior a little easier with like, hey, remember, I want you to follow this hand even though there's no food in it. So instead of him guiding me guiding him into that hard position, I'm gonna make it slightly easier before I end this training session with him. Good boy, that's well done, Bobs. That's well done. And he follows and he follows. Good boy, that's a good job. Okay, so that's great, because if your dog struggles with this one, that's exactly what I would do with it. And with this one, that was fair for Fen to kind of struggle with, because that behavior gets really muscularly challenging after a certain period of time. So over time, the goal for this one is really to start to kind of fade the food that is right at your dog's nose and turn that more into a hand signal. I did that very quickly with Fen today. He's in the process of being ready to fade the lure, but this usually takes a few training sessions in order for our dogs to actually understand it. I'm not surprised that he didn't completely get it today. It usually takes a few times of actually working on this one for our dogs to understand, like, oh, I can get the same reinforcement for just following your hand down without the treat in it. Before you start to work with this one, really make sure that your dog understands the behavior that you're asking of them. I haven't attached a verbal cue onto this one for Fen, like I said, but he understands if I guide with a treat right at his nose, he'll go into that play bow almost every single time. Also, like I said, this one is a little bit physically taxing as well, so I typically don't ask for it very many times in a row, and it is one of the more like expensive behaviors that I call them. So him needing the treat right at his nose for a longer period of time time with this one is much more normal than something easier like a sit or a fold down, where it doesn't take a lot of muscular strength for him to be able to do that. This one takes a little bit more, so I understand the need for a treat lure at his nose a little bit longer with this one, and why he's kind of struggling a little bit with me trying to fade off on that as well. So the majority of the time in the very start of this, you're going to have food in your hands still. That's okay. Try to randomize it so that in the end, you're almost having more repetitions without food in your hand, and ultimately your dog gets to a point where they don't need food and they understand just a hand signal associated with that behavior. But for every given behavior and every given dog, we have to go at your dog's pace, and this is a trickier behavior as well. So it's going to take a little bit longer for this one for Fen to actually fade off completely on that food lure, and that's okay.